I want to congratulate Colgate for the job they are doing in educating.
In case you don't know it, this is Colin Powell, who among other things, had been Secretary of State and also was the head of the military for the last 15 years. A real hero.
Young Americans for positions of leadership. And I'm especially pleased to have an evening with not only students, but members of the community who come together to be part of this university family. People will still say to me, we're glad you're occupied, and you're also up at your center at the City College of New York, the Powell Center, my alma mater. But it can't be the same as being the Secretary of State. You just can't be the same. You gotta miss it. And my response is, I don't miss anything in life. I like to go through life looking through the front windshield, never through the rear view mirror or the side mirrors. There's nothing I can do about what is behind me. I want to see things new and different and interesting, whether it's information technology or youth programs, but I always want to be looking out the front windshield of life, never behind me. For my young friends and students here, remember, as you get involved in student organizations, and when you leave here, you will become responsible for people, your followers, your subordinates. Remember that they get the work done, and the role of a leader is to put people, human beings, in the best possible environment to achieve the purpose of the organization you're a part of. How do you go about doing that? At Fort Benning and throughout my career, they focused on just a couple of very simple things. One, have a clear sense of purpose, have goals, have a mission. Goals and mission are pretty good words. You see them all the time. You see them in PowerPoint presentations. But the word I prefer is have a purpose. The organization has to have a purpose. That's a more driven word. So when you take over an organization, whether it's an office of 3 or an army of 3 million, make sure you convey throughout the organization a sense of purpose. What are we here for? What do we do not just to make money? What do we do to make this a better society? And the best leaders I've known are those who can convey this sense of purpose down to every single person in an organization. The second thing they taught us was take care of the troops. Take care of the followers. They will get the job done for you. Train them, give them the skills they need. Make sure they're ready for the task ahead. Give them the equipment they need, whether they're weapons, computers, knowledge, whatever they need to get the job done. If you're a real leader, you'll make sure they have what they need, and you will never look away from those needs. You will not only talk the talk, you'll walk the walk with them. Make sure that you also commend them when they have done good things. And it's not just a matter of promotions or salaries. Sometimes it's nothing more than, I'm so proud you're a part of my team. But if you want to be a leader, you've also got to be ready to discipline people and fire people when they're not getting the job done. Don't work around them. Don't give the work to somebody else. The good followers know who the bad followers are, and they're waiting for you to do something about it. So my young friends, make sure you develop the fortitude to be realistic and not turn away from problems, but to deal with problems when they come along. And if it means hurting someone's feelings for the good of the organization, you have to train yourself to be able to do that. But it's all about human connections, all about conveying to the followers that you believe in them, you're going to support them, and we are all in this together.
Okay, there's some food for thought for you. Tonight we're going to do the case study on Lumiscape. I specifically picked that for a reason. So let's just check here. Is Leslie Horcasitas here?
Yes. Hello.
I'm looking for where you are.
Hi, I'm right here.
Okay, good. Shelby, I know you're here. Yeah, you're right now. You're right next to me on the screen right now. Hanwen. Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say Anna Win?
Nope, I said Hanwen. Hanwen
Oh.
Xiang.
I'm sorry.
Xiang. Genesis. Is that Audia?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Genesis. And Jia Ching.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. And Tyler Sykes. Okay, so I think I've got it. Let's see. How about Brian Alvarez? Yeah, he's there. Okay, as I said, I selected this case study particularly because it's a good one to start with. Now you got 4 more that we're going to be doing before the semester's over, and they're going to require a lot more digging than you had to do with this one. This one was pretty well presented from the perspective of 2 possible outcomes. And what I wanted you to be able to do was to read it, to analyze it, to look at the 2 potential outcomes, and then make a decision as to which you would choose and support it by the material inside the case to justify one position or the other. But there's no right answer in this case, and there isn't in any of the cases that you'll be looking at. Now, I'm going to be grading you as we go along based on your class participation. So this is one of 5 opportunities you really have to have some influence on this portion of your grade. And this is a very important part of it for me. I really put a lot of importance on your ability to analyze, articulate, and defend a position. So with that, I'm going to throw it open to you all and let somebody take the ball and run with it.
I'll go first.
Okay, Austin.
I thought that Lumiscape should go with the first expert's opinion with taking the offer, because in my opinion, I feel like you can kind of grandfather in previous customers and say, hey, since you bought from us before, we'll keep you on the purchasing plan, but like as new customers come in, then you present them the payment plan and have the new customers go on the payment plan. And then you can also, like, as time goes on, after you make that deal with Houston, if year or so down the line you say, hey, we're changing our business plan to subscription based, and then talk them into it that way, so that way you still make the deal and then you can still possibly move to subscription based afterward.
Okay. Now, you know what? I think right now Microsoft is ready to decommit from Outlook. And that's what they've done. They've left it run for a while, but if I'm correct, and I don't use Outlook, but maybe it's just as well I don't, because if I understand it correctly, they're no longer going to support it. And so that's what they've done, is they've got that overlap where they were supporting it up to a certain point. And I guess, what do you use now? Edge? Or is there some other thing they have besides Outlook? I could tell you, I'm so ancient, I use AOL. So, all right. Go
I
ahead.
also think that they should sell the 5,000 lights to Houston. And I think it's kind of in the article as well about like offering them a free subscription to show them the services, so they can see it and kind of get a feel of how they would work, and then eventually be able to convert them over to the subscriptions in a couple of years or so, since it is a long-term goal that they are like trying to do. So I feel like in a few years they'd be able to switch them over to the subscription instead of just like them owning it. So if they
Okay.
offer the free subscription for like a year maybe or something, then they can convert them over.
Okay. And two levels of potential receptivity, Leslie. One that whether the guy who's got the power of the pen is willing to sign off on it, and number two, will the people who are working there be willing to change their habits to do what's necessary to get the value out of the light pole?
Hmm. Yeah. So I know like in the article it said that he was at his hometown and they weren't using the lights to their like full capability. So I think like doing the subscription and having someone being able to like, I don't know, look over all of the lights, it would be a lot easier for people.
To do the servicing for them, insist that it get done.
Yeah.
When did you change the filter in your furnace the last time? Supposed to do it every 6 months. And I suspect, or when did you change your oil? Well, I guess it's a little more likely, although I don't think I've driven 3,000 miles this whole year. But how do you get people to take responsibility? All right. Thank you both. Now let somebody else get involved in the conversation.
Yeah, so I agree with Leslie and Austin um of grandfathering them in, but kind of transitioning them to the new model, because in the article it stated that they had already sold them like 1,000 lights and they didn't even get into installing all of them. So if they can transition them to that new subscription that they had and kind of get them to see how it helps them, like you guys won't have to worry about installing the 5,000 lights yourself. With the subscription, we can come in and install them for you and take care of all that. Um, and also they get the deal done and they get the customer, and it's like a feel good story, how they said.
Yeah, that's a good point nobody had mentioned before, but putting in the 5,000 lights may be difficult for them to accomplish, given that they hadn't been able to get 1,000 in, and it's been more than 1 year. So I think that that's a good selling point. Because that without really pushing the soft benefits that you got, you can still say, hey, look, we know it's going to be tough. Why don't you let us do the subscription model so we can get you up and running on with for all 5,000 units.
I feel like that was kind of what the second expert was saying on pushing for the subscription model. Just because it could be hard to grandfather in something like this, especially since it seems like none of the purchasers in the past had been able to fully use the lights, as I believe Leslie mentioned. They weren't using them to the full potential. They were broken all the time. So I would agree with the second expert in saying like sell the subscription as an upfront payment. So it's almost like a purchase, and kind of sell them that way instead of switching them from a full purchase to a subscription.
Okay, good, Emily. So you sparked some thought in my mind, but the sparks go out a lot more frequently now than they did a couple years ago.
There's three key points that I kind of was looking at. called the transformative business model.
Mhm.
And the 3 points I was kind of looking at in regards to this case was the first one is a more personalized product or service. The second one was the usage based pricing. And the other one was have a more agile and adaptive organization, because they have to look at how the government is doing it and how the kind of government works. And if they're not going to be able to work with or partner with the government or the local government that they're working with, and they're not going to be able to kind of have this business model. So they kind of have to look back at their business model and kind of like be a little bit more agile and a little bit more adaptive and a little bit more flexible of how they're going to do what they're going to do in their business model. And I kind of was looking back at Porter's 5 forces, and I
Mhm.
think it kind of deals with the bargaining power of the buyers. I might be wrong, but I feel like it kind of correlates with his one of his 5 factors, that the bargaining power of the buyers, which is the government.
Okay. Now, did you pick that up in the strategy book, the one, What is Strategy?
A little bit of that, a little bit of reading, and then I kind of did my own little like research into the case.
Okay. And I think your point is very well taken, that we know that even though I've not introduced the 5 forces effectively in class, that those 5 forces exist and we could probably deduce them ourselves. But you do have a situation where you've got very few buyers, and that means that they've got a lot of power. And there are probably more suppliers out there, particularly with plain vanilla products that don't do all of these special things. So you said that the 3 models, Chris, what were the
Yeah,
3
I think there's 40 of them together in the transformative business model, but I was looking at 6, but 3 of them kind of pointed out in this particular case, and it was again let me go over them again because I wrote them down. A more personalized product or service, usage based pricing, which is how are they gonna change their product or service rather than buying outright. And then the third one that I kind of thought correlated with this case was the becoming more agile and having more of an adaptive organization in regards to the response.
Okay. I would have argued that, hey, stick with your strategy. This has been one of the hallmarks of what I've told you so far. Be focused, stay right on focus, and don't don't deviate with going back and forth with like switchbacks in your performance on your strategy. But what you said, I think, is very good justification for making that change, as you described about being adaptive and more agile. So in case you didn't get that, I liked that point very much. And
I
it would,
appreciate it. Thanks.
and it overcome a lot of objections or a lot of contrary opinion on my part. Who else read the case?
What I got from the Luminaire case was make was Jack Kutner's strategy of thinking about the long term for Luminaire.
And would you say, look at the long term? What do you mean? What do you have in mind with that?
He's not Cameron is not focused on, is focused more on the product itself rather than the long-term experiences.
And which position then would you take, Samuel? Would you stick to the strategy or take the short term, take the money and run?
I would just go for the long run
Okay.
since since the street light would be considered an asset.
Mm-hmm. It's sometimes very difficult to do that. Hello, Han Wen. Saw you came in.
Yeah.
So this is a very difficult position. What happens when he appears before his board of directors and says, I'm going for the long run, and that means I'm going to walk away from a $3 million order?
They definitely won't be initially happy, but I think if he's able to prove that the subscription model works better, they'll be more willing to listen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or how, like Emily said earlier, trying to get the 3 million towards a subscription instead of like just 3 million to sell the 5,000 lights.
okay, and this can go, you can have a board of directors go either way. Some may say, if you take the $3 million order, they may say, look, you had a strategy. We want somebody who's going to stick to the last, do what they say they're going to do, take a hike. We'll get somebody else that will implement the strategy. But if you take the long-term view and go in there and say, we walked away from a $3 million deal, but our skirts are clean because we followed the strategy that we put together. And you still may get thrown out. It's can be kind of a no-win situation, but somebody has got to have the strength of character to take a position and live with it. Thank you all for your contributions on that point.
It just kind of makes me think like, what's the government going to do though? Because I mean, if they don't like their subscription plan or feel like they're getting what they're going to get out of it, they're going to go to someone else. So I mean, he could sell for the 3 million and walk away with the 3 million, but if he wants to eventually like increase the business model or the value, or get more customers in or more, local agencies, then I mean, I think they have to kind of look at the perspective of, okay, what's the local government going to do and what's the government going to do? Because eventually they're going to be the ones that are going to want this program. And if they see that, hey, this is working, this is great, then, the government's going to buy it.
Yeah, it's going to take time though.
Of course, which is then what we're arguing is the long-term benefit of it.
I had one of the first, I've told you before where I started to work, which was at IBM. And in my office, there was one guy, he was a real nice guy. I liked him a lot. His quota for the year was to convert Ford Motors transmission plant in Cincinnati from a Honeywell system, because they were making computers then, to an IBM system. And he was on that all year long. And finally, in late December, he got in those days, it took a long time to get equipment in, and he got an order that would have to be reconfirmed as the next year went on. But I find that almost, I think it would drive you nuts to have one account and you spend all your time out there and you know you're not going to get a decision for the whole year. Very hard way to go. But that's what they may have to face in trying to sell to the government. How about some other players in here? This is a chance to begin to get something going toward your grade. Tell you something else, an experience with going back to those IBM days, that one of the things we were told is when you get to the point in the order cycle where you're ready to ask for the order, be sure and ask, and then wait until the person gives you a response. And the first person that speaks loses. So the thing is, can you sit when everything is quiet without getting nervous? So I'd learned that over the years. So I can wait. See, we've got about 20 more minutes, so I can wait that long in silence. But you all have to run this class, not me.
Did they say whether or not that this organization looked at the 5 factors of Michael Porter's? Like, how they? I don't really know how to ask my question.
Are you asking, did they do an industry analysis?
Is that what it's called? I don't know what it's called. I mean, I'm sure they would have had to do one, but I don't know if what business model they took, or were they trying to, did they know Michael Porter's work? Because I don't know much about this company, and I don't know if you have more backstory of the company.
No, I don't, and it is a partially made up and partially real. I do know that probably many people have heard of the 5 forces, and they can probably name 4 of the 5, but they don't know what they mean, how they fit into the overall schema. So the fact that you could even talk about that, Chris, puts you in a special category. Now, everybody will know what those 5 factors are within the next week or so. Might be 2 weeks.
And also, I didn't see anything in the case, but did they feel threatened by substitutes? I didn't see anything in there. Or were they facing any new entrants or new entrepreneurs? I didn't see that anywhere in the case study.
I didn't either, but that was one of the things that was immediately in the back of my mind is, the competition is going to come in because their system has got to have some expense component in it because they've got all these extras. The Wi-Fi, the ability to communicate back to a central center. And obviously they are not using that in Houston. Or else and therefore, if they're not using it, therefore they might be sensitive to somebody who comes in with a skinny down product. Like I told you that we want to do is skinny down your product to where you give the least amount that you have to charge for.
I think at their present point, instead of new entrants, their biggest threat was their current competition, which is just regular street lights.
Mhm.
I mean, I think Samuel mentioned it where these lights are an asset and they are a long-term asset, and it's you know, you get this one purchase, that like the $5 million or $3 million purchase, but then that's the end of it. If you have the subscription model, you're able to service it, and so it's at least like a recurring cost. So I feel like that at least puts them in a better perspective or a better state. But yeah, I think their current competition is just a regular street light that's just when it burns out, it burns out, and hopefully someone calls it in.
Yeah, and they said that they've got those old sodium vapor lights where they could substitute in an LED light that's got a much longer life and a much lower electrical usage. So um, that's an important factor, because anybody else coming in is going to sell them a real skinny down product, with a very narrow application, and the competitor might be very capable of displacing you just on the basis of cost alone. The one advantage you've got is you have been spec'd in as the supplier. And what you find a lot of times in contracts, what you try and do, because these are long sell cycles, you may be talking a year, 2 years, like my friend with the Honeywell system. What you want to do is get spec'd in so that when they finally do order or get into the weeds where they're going to be making a decision, it's always, you need to have a Lumiscape or equivalent as the product that you're offering. So you can, when you can get your things, your characteristics incorporated into that request for purchase, you're really sitting in the catbird seat. You're in a very strong position, because anybody else who comes in have got to match with the same feature you've got. So if they've been able to sell this before, they may have some advantages versus a competitor who has less capability than they do, even though the customer's not using all that capability. Do you understand what I'm saying, Emily?
Yeah, so it's basically, provide something that your market wants and can actually use to its fullest extent, even if it's not a super fancy, bells and whistles item.
Well, if you're going out there and you've got a 2-year sell cycle, you may be going in to say, hey, we want to sell you all these items, and when you specify, we want to make sure that they've got a Wi-Fi system in there, that they can use the LED lights, that they've got an audio announcer that tells you if the light is going bad. If they can spec in all those things, whether the customer really needs them or not, it closes out competition.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a very common characteristic that you have to do when you're selling.
But it's not kind of like a bad thing, because I mean, by the time this contract gets started, or they actually start implementing it, won't like newer technology start coming out or faster specs? So now they're going to be like, okay, like we're in this agreement to build this, but now this company can build like I don't know, more brighter LED light at a lower cost, or the Wi-Fi, is stronger than what you're providing or what your techs are going to provide us. So isn't it kind of, see, if you are in a business contract, that it's kind of like you're waiting, but isn't that kind of like bad? And when the substitutes and technology grows, that new things will start coming in faster.
Well, when you're selling in a long-term type arrangement like this, you may find it's very difficult to get the customer to make the change, because it's spec'd in. We don't want to mess with it because we already got this far. It took us 6 months to get here. We certainly don't want to go back to the drawing board, even if there's something better. That's a constant thing that you got.
So they can just end up getting screwed and be like, okay, well, we're just going to buy them outright and stay with their plan.
It's
of just
possible that
replacing the.
that's what you got. A hybrid approach is really a weak approach, but you may be able to get it from the idea, look, we'll get this to you and you give us the PO for it. We'll put it all in with one invoice. And then when you get it in, oh, by the way, we've got these other things that we can do for you that really aren't going to cost you anything extra. Or that are going to be so little that we'll be able to justify it in terms of cost savings with every new thing, every new feature that you use. I was telling one of the other classes today that one of the things that I do and haven't been able to do for a year is I do work inside prison, and will go into the prison for 4 days at a time with a group of people to actually to minister to them. And we've gotten shut out because of COVID. And we just can't figure, it's been a year now, and we can't figure out when we're ever going to get back into the prison. Because we know nobody's going to take a risk on that. And I would guarantee you that everybody's going to have had their shots and have a certificate for that before they'll let us go in. So I got a big gap in my schedule because that took a lot of time.
How long have you been doing that?
31 years.
For the same prison?
No, different prisons. And total log time behind bars has been about 7 months over that time. And it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
That's so cool. I would probably not do that, but that is so cool that you do.
It's great fun. And what we try and do now is get together Zooming with the group that goes in, because we go in with about 25 to 30 people. And it's a constantly rotating thing because we can't all put in that much time. But we're still trying to get together at least once every couple weeks on Zoom so we can continue to have what really is brotherhood, fellowship that we've developed in doing that. So
what kind of ministry is it? Is it like Christian ministry or what?
It is, yes, it's all Christian. It does not do any proselytizing. Nobody has to do an altar call or make a confession of anything. It's just to go in and tell the men in this case that there are people out there that love them, that they're not worthless pariahs, that there is a hope for a future, and that we're there to try and support them. And some guys, after they get out, will make it. Some will be there for a long time. I was in one of the prisons a little over a year ago when a fellow said, wow, I just got an improvement in the date at which I can go before the parole board. I can go in 2130. That was so he could go before the parole board. It was not when he was going to get paroled. And I guess it knocked a lot of years off his sentence already to put him in that position.
Do you keep contact with anyone after they get out?
We're very limited. We're very limited. And that's that probably will change when we get back in. This is done in 500 prisons around the country, and all 500 are shut down.
Have you tried like making like a Zoom thing for like the prisoners, like coordinating with the prison and trying to do like a Zoom thing so you guys can talk to
I
them?
don't know that we can even do that because they've got the same problem inside. We normally would be And this is kind of getting a little bit off of what we normally would be talking about, but there'll be about 40 prisoners. There'll be about 30 of us. We'll be seated at a table just like you would be in a classroom. And those people sitting that closely are going to be subject to getting COVID. So even if you have a Zoom meeting, you're going to have everyone social distance, and that's kind of tough in a prison. They each have cells, but normally they congregate in what they call a day room or a gymnasium or a chapel where they can put a lot of people in. But it's a lot of fun.
I'm assuming these are like low risk inmates.
The last prison I was in was at Salinas Valley, and we were in C Yard, which is the whole prison's a supermax, and this is the worst yard in the prison.
I'm good.
Hmm?
That's brave of you. I said I'm good. I wouldn't do that. I'm good though.
Well, that was probably the roughest group that we had, but they were no different. They're all children. They all are just, there are some people that are naturally evil, I think, but most of them are just, they're children that just got caught the wrong way. And they want to have the love and attention the same as your children have. And Chris, I know you got children. But if you don't have children, I know you've got younger brothers and sisters, and you can remember back how your family relations were. And I hope they were all really good. That's what we need to carry on with our children. Well, that takes care of a brief introduction to what I do, but I don't know that I can continue to do it until the governor says it's okay. And I know he'll be very cautious, and I don't blame him. And we will, as I said, we'll all have to have our shots before, as will everybody inside the prison before we go back in.
Well, supposedly the president posted today that we should administer all the shots by May of this year.
Well, I just got a letter today from one of the people associated with this program. And he asked the question, if we were allowed back in, would you go back in? If it requires the shots, would you make sure you got the shots? And there were a couple other questions, but surprisingly, while almost all of us are older, probably half said, no, I'm not going to take the vaccine.
Why? I'm sorry. May I ask why you're not going to take vaccine?
What's that? Why
You
they
say
wouldn't want to take?
You just said you're not going to take the vaccine.
I think they've heard some bad things. I've had my second shot 2 weeks ago. I did not feel anything anytime from the time I got the first shot. But other people have had a period of 2 to 3 days where they felt really, really crummy.
So
There's some people that have taken a flu shot, and sometimes they got the flu anyhow.
Yeah, for myself, yeah, I have the same opinion. I'm not going to take the vaccine because I experienced with the COVID myself. And I think my body already moved with that. So I just not going to take the vaccine because I think, there's no point for me to take the vaccine.
Well, but it may be that if you want to get on an airplane at some time in the future, they're going to say, where's your certificate?
Yeah.
You might have
At that
had,
point.
if you had it, you might have a different kind of a situation, but you're still going to have proof of that.
Yeah, you're right. I still have a family in Vietnam, so yeah.
All my family are younger, and most of them have had it. They've had COVID.
Yeah.
And praise God, none of them were really badly hurt with it.
Thank you.
Mhm. Well, we have to kind of get wrapped up here. There's some things I want you to do. The next session we've got is going to be talk about core values. And I'll have something out under assignments for that. I want you to write down what you think are your core values. Now, core values are kind of what you grew up with when you were staying at your grandma's house when you were a kid. She was the one that instilled the core values that you have in you. They may be things that are very positive, you know, that I want to be kind, I want to be have a high level of integrity, always be honest. But they may be things that are more kind of neutral, that I'm really aggressive and one of my core values is I have to win. But I want you to think about this over the next 24 hours and come up with a list of just 5, no more than 5, that you think will define who you are. Because that's what the core values do, that they will define, they will be a description of how you behave in your everyday interactions with other people. So you don't have to tell me what your core values are. If we spent a couple afternoons together, I would understand them. I would be able to see what they are because you live them out. So I want you to get in touch with that with just about 5. And I want you to submit that so I can give you some participation points for writing that down. I could care less what you put down there. I think by the time we get done with looking at this, the importance of core values and strategy, that you will have a stronger appreciation for it. So, and did I give you the additional reading assignments that you have?
I saw it on Blackboard. It was the 2 Magretta books, right?
One of Magretta and the other one, the What is Strategy? And I'm finding that that's a fascinating book. You really have taken a lot of good things and presented it in a way that is supposed to reach you people of the 21st century, the millennials. I think it's pretty neat. Okay, so get on your decisions, and I'll see you in 2 more days. And Shindong, I'll get in touch with you for the young man I'm talking about, if I decide to work that out that way. Okay.
You can email me his mail, and that I can contact him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll take the initiative on it. If I don't call you, it's because it's not going to happen. But if I do, you can then take it from there.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate your help with that. Have a good night, kids.
Professor,
night.
from what I see on the decisions, it basically saved what we already put in for the practice year.
That you've gone back to year 10. So everything is zeroed out. And now you start all over again. So you're going to have an experience like you did the first decision that you don't know. Presumably you've all learned something. And so when you come into the marketplace this time, you're going to have a little more idea of what strategy is about. But you won't know anything about what the guy in the next company has decided to do. So you're still going to need a couple rounds in the real decisions to begin to see how people are maneuvering. You know, we looked at the bubble chart the last time? And you could see where certain people had moved in one direction or another, and you could infer what kind of a strategy they were looking at. And I don't remember whether it was this in this class, but one of the classes, it was quite clear that one of the companies was going for a differentiated strategy. They were going for something that was a clearly a high value product that they were going to sell, and they were by themselves. But they may not come back this time and do it the same way.
So our numbers were set back to 0 because we took screenshots of what we did and the numbers are still the same. Is that
It-
not accurate?
They will go back right to year 10.
From where we left off?
No, right back to the same place that we started 2 weeks ago. You did year 10, or you did year 11 and year 12. And then on I think it was the 26th, I turned back the calendar. And so everything should be gone from the trial.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you satisfied with that answer? Breland, are you satisfied with that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
If you aren't, don't hesitate to tell me.
Just because, like I said, we took screenshots and then all the numbers are still the same.
On the competitive efforts report?
Do the entire one, the entire decisions.
Well, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to eliminate a couple companies in here this evening that never had anybody in them. I'm not allowed to do that until we start up again. So try and clean those out for you.
Professor,
Yes.
just a quick sharing that yeah, just Berlin, she just mentioned about the year 11 that we're gonna do tonight. So we did good on the practice, the route. So, you know, like you said, you set up on a number back to year 10. So what we just did, we just, you know, entered the same info that we did on the year practice, and then we apply for the real route this times. So that's what we did.
And that's fine. That's fine. But what you want to do, you've learned something during the process. And the place where you learn it is in all those reports that you can pull down and examine. So while you may make the same decisions, it's with more knowledge of how the game works. So, you know, you should be able to get off even to a little bit better start. Although I'll say the same thing, second round, you probably won't do as well as you do the first round, because again, you'll have other companies interplaying with what your decisions are, trying to screw you up. And so, but within another couple rounds, you'll really get the momentum going.
Okay.
You got to be working on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So I'm always available, and it's notes. I was going to say to Chia Chin that I can be reached, although I know it's difficult for her to get me verbally. So see you Thursday, or did you have any other questions? Samuel, did you have a question?
No, I don't have. So someone will be presenting next Thursday, correct? According to the schedule that was given.
Yes, it is. You know, it is set up to do that, but I would really like to postpone that one because the lecture that we're going to have will take the whole you end up taking most all of the time. So I may ask people to move that back one more class time. And you're in TB, so you would not be affected.
No, we actually on team E.
You are Team E?
Yes.
Okay, but you will not be affected because that one wouldn't be next week anyhow.
So like you said, we're just gonna push us to like further day on the
Uh,
presentation.
I really got to talk with Team C.
Yeah, because last time we just had team A present and we still have B, C, D, E, like the following group not presented yet.
Okay, then I'm probably gonna thank you for reminding me that. I did see that I moved.
Yeah, you know, like at least we know what day that we have to present so we can have better repair for it.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. So you can say you can count on. Shoot, I don't have the right thing though.
So, you know, like as a schedule, our team's gonna present next week on Thursday, but I assume maybe we have to have the following the next week, which is maybe Tuesday and Thursday. But you can help us on next class, you can confirm, you
Yeah.
know, let us know.
Yeah, I've got to keep updating this because this consistently happens every semester that we fall behind, and I don't mind that because I'll teach you. I've got more stuff than I have time to teach, so
Yeah.
we just go as far. I want to. My class objective is to make sure that whatever you get exposed to, you learn and can retain it.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes.
don't get all the way through. At least what you got, you'll be able to use.
Yeah, thank you so. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, kids.
I forgot the last question, but I shall remember what I'm gonna ask you. Well,
You're not supposed to have that happen. I'm the one that's supposed to have that happen.
I'm sorry. I have a long day at work, and you know. So, yeah, I think I'm good so far. Or else just gonna email you. Oh
Okay.
yeah, I remember now.
All
So
right.
the quiz for the BAG game. Do you grade for it? Do you take credit for that, or we just a practice quiz for us to understand more about the game?
You mean for the two rounds you've had so far?
No, the quiz.
The
The
quiz.
quiz,
Oh,
yes.
the first quiz was strictly to help you, so it does not count. I do not count any of that in
And
the
how about
grade.
a second quiz? Because we have that second quiz coming up too.
You got a while for that, and I'm going to take a look. Right now, it is not going to have any impact on your grade.
I mean, like it would be great if it's not impact because you know the quiz is kind of hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. So if
And
it would help if you don't take grade for it, because at least we can, you know, get through the quiz, understand more about the game, but you know, without fear that you're gonna get the grade, take credit from the quiz. 'Kay, it's kind of hard.
this is quiz 2.
Yeah, it's quiz 2.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Quiz
Thank
1
you.
was designed really to help you find what page on the book the
Yes,
answer
yes.
was on. Quiz 2 used to be a test of your knowledge of business. I've got to go look at it because they've recently changed what quiz 2 is.
Yes.
And I don't want to grade you on something that really is supposed to be a crib or an extra tool to get you through the course. If it's a test of knowledge or a test of business skills, that's fine. I can put a grade in for that, but it won't be significant. You know what the most significant thing is for your grade?
Participation.
Participation is very important for me. And I do use it a lot to make evaluations for everybody. But
Yes.
it's the evaluation that you do of one another.
The BHG.
not BSG. It's when I said the last day I give you a quiz or a evaluation sheet, and I want you to evaluate each other. And I learned a tremendous amount about you from that. I've also
Yes.
learned a lot from the data sheet that you gave me at the beginning of the quarter or the beginning of the semester.
The student information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned there are a lot of people that really opened up about their life, which is just, it was helpful for me, and it also puts me in a position where I can help you all more effectively. Because I really want all of you to be successful.
Thank you.
And whatever else I have to do that, I will.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You take care now.
All right. You have a good night, professors.
What's left of it?
You take care.
Okay.
Thanks.
Nighty night.